The Gemara on Daf 92 of Eruvin is one of those times you're reading something from the ancient world and you have this kind of, ooh, look how far we've come moments. So what's going on? We're talking about courtyards of all things. Talking about two courtyards, adjacent courtyards, a large one and a small one. And I'm talking about how really, the large one can kind of have dominion over the small one. It's kind of joined together one half. If you're in the large one, you can kind of include the small one in your dominion. But if you're in the small one, you can't necessarily include everything that's in the large one. So what are the examples we give here? The example we give, get this, is that if a woman is standing in a large courtyard, it's her courtyard, and her husband wants to divorce her and throws her bill of divorce, her get, and it lands in the small courtyard, she's divorced. But if she's standing in the small courtyard and he throws the bill of divorce into the large courtyard, she's not divorced. It's an interesting idea. It's a good illustration to help us understand this courtyard thing. Then you've got to stop and say, wait a second, this is how people get divorced? That a man would just take a bill of divorce, he'd have it written out and he'd throw it to her? And if it lands near her, that's a divorce? That's how they used to handle these matters? Now, truthfully, I think we still have a very long way to go when it comes to matters of divorce. I actually know people who get embattled in divorce battles that go on for years and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and create huge separations in family. I've often said that, when you meet couples that have been divorced a decade, 2 decades earlier, and who just can't stand each other, sometimes you see that. I've often come to realize that it's sometimes less because they had a really bad marriage that they have so much animosity, and sometimes the marriage wasn't going well, they decided to get divorced, but I think a lot of the hatred sometimes comes from a really unhealthy divorce process that a lot of people I know have gone through. But this was something very, very different. Back then, this was a non-mutual process. This was a process of, it was literally the husband's choice whether to divorce his wife or not. And you see that literally, it wasn't usually done that you just throw the thing and it would land near her. But you say that was considered to be an acceptable form of divorce in the ancient world. It was all one-sided. And as you see, just having something land near you is already enough for you to be considered having received that divorce notice and therefore being divorced. So I'm glad the law has changed dramatically on this front. Divorce is a very different thing in the Jewish world now than it was then, but I think we have a long way to go both in the Jewish and the non-Jewish world to make divorce a much healthier process, because unfortunately it's an area that far too many people I know, or maybe I should say that a very large percent of those I know, and I'm sure that you know, have gone through at one point or another.